Hello everybody, it's Vertical Sandwich. Welcome back to Book Reviews. We are on book 4 of the Foundation series. Actually, we're on book 6, but we're not dealing with the prequels. If you've watched the previous reviews, we reviewed the original trilogy from the 50s. So then 30 years after writing the last book in the Foundation series, Asimov wrote this book. And it is, plotline-wise, the 4th book in the series. And here's the thing. The original trilogy is great. It has this wonderful feel and kind of energy to it. I think that's lacking in the 80s. And one of the books from the 80s. Now, the books from the 80s, one of the other things about it, too, was that Asimov had developed a lot of other ideas as a writer by then, and he really wanted to kind of incorporate them to make it clear that the Foundation series happens in the same universe as some of his other writing, like his robot series. And the Foundation series didn't need other Asimov stuff kind of thrown into them. It kind of, to me, it goes to, the Foundation series goes to a place that becomes very weird to me. A place that directly correlates to the robot series, which I've read a bit of. And people really like the robot series, and I'm not. It actually is probably Asimov's robot stuff is kind of his best known stuff, and he's known for his laws of robotics and all that. And his laws of robotics are fun and they're catchy, and they're they're the kind of thing that make it into pop culture and get absorbed into other stuff. But for my money, the Foundation series is a better series. And so Foundation's Edge is, let's read the back cover. At last, the costly and bitter war. Oh, by the way, there are going to be spoilers for the original trilogy. At last, the costly and bitter war between the two Foundations has come to an end. The scientists of the first Foundation have proved victorious, and now they return to Harry Seldon's long-established plan to build a new empire on the ruins of the old. But rumors persist that the second Foundation is not destroyed after all, and that its still defiant survivors are preparing their revenge. Now, two exiled citizens of the Foundation, a renegade councilman and a doddering historian, set out in search of the mythical planet Earth and a proof that the Second Foundation still exists. Meanwhile, someone or something outside of both Foundations seemed to be orchestrating events to suit its own ominous purpose. So that both the First and Second Foundation are set racing to, I can't read, I got a barcode on the back. Now, yeah. That's what's going on. At this point, what we've learned is that the First Foundation is a repository of knowledge that is meant to publicly survive, and that the Second Foundation is a foundation of people who have gained the mental ability to try to keep the Seldon plan working. So that what they're doing is they're working behind the scenes to the First Foundation doesn't. But that's their thing, right? And so they're trying to maintain the Seldon plan. And so then suddenly the people of the Second Foundation start to realize that there's something working that nobody understands. Right. And then it becomes this third thing. It's not a third foundation. It ends up being a thing. Right. So let's just read from the book and we'll talk about this. When she exerted herself to be charming, Speaker Delora Delarmy had a way of dominating the speaker's table. Her voice grew soft, her smile indulgent, her eyes sparkling, all of her sweet. No one cared to interrupt her, and everything waited for the blow to fall. She said, "Thanks to Speaker Gendebal, I think we all now understand what we must do. We do not see the anti-mules." That's what they're calling the group that they can't identify, is that they're anti-mules. "We know nothing about them, except that for their fugitive touches on the minds of people right here in the stronghold of the Second Foundation itself. We do not know what the power center of the First Foundation is planning. We may face an alliance of the anti-mules and the First Foundation. We don't know. We do know that this Golan Treves and his companion, whose name escapes me at the moment, are going, we know not where, and that the first speaker and Gendebal feel that Treves holds the key to the outcome of this great crisis. What then are we to do? Clearly, we must find out everything we can about Treves. where he is going, what he is thinking, what his purpose may be, or indeed, whether he has any destination, any thought, any purpose, whether he might not, in fact, be a mere tool of a force greater than he is. Gandalf said, he is under observation. Delarmy pursed her lips in an indulgent smile. By whom? By one of our outworld agents? Are such agents to be expected to stand against those with the powers we have seen demonstrated here? Surely not. In the Mule's time, and later on too, the Second Foundation did not hesitate to send out, or even to sacrifice, volunteers from among the best we had, since nothing less would do. When it was necessary to restore the Selden plan, Prem Pulver himself scoured the galaxy as a Trentorian traitor in order to bring back that girl, Arcady. We cannot sit here and wait. Now when the crisis may be greater than either previous case, we cannot rely on minor functionaries, watchers, and messenger boys. So, here's the thing, is that, like, this won the Hugo Award and the Nebula Award. Won the Hugo Award in 83, won the Nebula Award for 82. The early 80s were bad for science fiction. Neuromancer comes out and changes the game, right? But before that, we get Down Below Station winning a Hugo Award. And here's the thing about, this is a very sluggish novel. It's 430 pages, longer than any of the others in the series up until this point. The last one is even longer. What are we to think about that? Well, I mean, it's like I don't like the last two books. I don't like the conclusion of the series, it's fine. But like when what happens is when you go back to the Mule formula and go like, oh, we have an entire planet of people like this, and like where are they and what are they doing? Then you're kind of, at the end of the trilogy, the trilogy is kind of beautifully started to eat its own tail. But that becomes too much in book 4. That, like, Asimov seems to be going back to kind of cliched wells from the original trilogy and kind of feeding those things from you, and the misdirections seem a lot more forced, and it's just very hard. And then it's leading to this gigantic galactic denouement where, like, it happens and you go like, oh, that's a thing? Like, that's actually what's happening, is that, like, there's going to be this final moment where everything is decided, like, for just, like, it's alright. But, like, I don't like the fourth and fifth book, or the two books after the original trilogy, because, like I said, they just seem very rehashed. And I really think Asimov should have left it alone after the 50s, because the Foundation trilogy is really, really good. But when you start adding in all of this, because he starts adding in the planets of kind of the robot series and stuff, and then it becomes things like it becomes things about that, and then I just don't like it. Just becomes too much. It becomes kind of self-referential Asimov, where it's like he is making jokes and callbacks to this brilliant science fiction trilogy, but this book is like a shell of what those books were, right? It's like it's got the same formula, but just almost none of the heart, and like wants to go to very big places, like across the scope of the entire galaxy, and make this thing like this huge battleground for people and psychic forces and stuff like that, and it just doesn't fit the feel of the original. So I'd skip it. I would actually tell you, if you're going to read the Foundation series, you should read the original 3. They're brilliant. I didn't like this book. I didn't. And part of that is going to be reinforced when we do the review of the last book, when we talk about that. We'll be doing that when we come back. So I didn't like this, but it did win the Hugo Award, so we did have to cover it. So when we come back to the conclusion of what I've read from the Foundation series, and we'll see you guys for that. Bye, everybody.